In this video, we'll look at menu bars for Tkinter. Hey guys, John Loader here from Tkinter.com, and most professional apps have a little menu bar at the top of the screen that has things like file, open, save, edit, cut, copy, paste, help files, things like that. Little drop-down menus that are just sort of standard in all apps. In this video, we'll look at how to create those using Tkinter. But before we get started, be sure to grab your totally free PDF copy of my Tkinter Widget Quick Reference Guide book. This thing's awesome, over 150 pages with all the Tkinter Widget attributes. Grab your free copy today. Just head over to tkinter.com/widget-book and your email address, and I'll send that right out to you. And while you're there, think about membership in tkinter.com. You get all my Tkinter courses, all my future courses for one low price. Use coupon code YouTube to get 30% off membership if you're interested. So let's learn about menus in Tkinter. Let's head over to our code. I'm using the Sublime Text Editor in the Get Bash terminal as always. And as always, you can find a link to the code in the pinned comment section below, as well as a link to the playlist with all the other videos in this Intro to Tkinter series. So check that out if you haven't so far. So I've got a pile, I'm calling it menus.py. It's our basic Tkinter starter code that we always have. And let's start out by creating a quick label so we can sort of get some output from the menu. So I'm going to call this my_label. This is going to be a label. We want to put it in root. We want the text to say select from menu above, maybe. And then let's give this a font of, let's say Helvetica, and like size 24, make it nice and big. And let's go my_label.pack and give this a pad Y of like 100 to really push it down the screen. So, okay, we've got that. Now let's create our main menu. And I say main menu because there's going to be several submenus, and this will become apparent as we build this out. So if we look at Sublime Text up here, you see this file, you know, it has this and then it has drop down things. So file, so the whole bar up here, that's the main menu. This file would be like sort of a submenu, and then it will have items inside that we can select. We're going to build out the same thing in Tkinter. So let's define our menu. I'm going to call it my_menu. And this is just a Tkinter menu. And we want to put it in root. And that's pretty much it. Now to sort of initiate or initialize maybe the menu, we need to reconfigure our main app, our root app, right? So we call root.config. And we set the menu equal to my_menu. Right? So that's sort of like packing the widget onto the screen. We're not packing this menu bar, we're adding it to the actual app itself. It becomes sort of a part of the app, right? So that's how we do that. Now I'm going to put this down at the bottom here because we need to do a whole lot of other things in order to get this to work. So first off, you need to create, let's call it a category for your menu, or a category item. So like file, that's a category. Edit, that would be a category. Selection, fine. You see up here at the top here, this menu bar in Sublime Text. I'm going to call those category items. I don't know what they're actually called, but we need to define them. So the first one, let's just create one called file, just like Sublime Text has. So I'm going to call this a file_menu. And see up here, this is the main menu. This will be a sort of sub menu, but it's still a menu. So we need to call the menu widget. Now, our main menu, we added to root. This sub menu, we're going to add to our my menu, right? So boom, we pop that in there. And then we also want to give this a tear-off of 0. And we'll see what this is in just a minute. Basically, it is what it sounds like. It allows you to tear off the menu. So if we click this here, if I wanted to pull this whole box off and move it around the screen, I could do that with a tear-off of 1. I don't want that. I just want it to act like a regular menu and stay put. So we put tear off at 0. So, okay, we've now sort of defined this. Now we need to kind of pack it onto the screen. But again, this is a menu and we don't pack menus. We, in this case, cascade it. We want it to go underneath our main menu. So we call my menu dot add_cascade. And then we want to create a label, and I'm going to call this file. And what menu do we want to put this on? We want to put it on our file_menu. So this gets kind of complicated, right? This is referencing this, whereas this is referencing this, whereas this is referencing this. It's all kind of connected, but it's easy to kind of lose track of where you are in this. So I just sort of be conscious of that and try not to get lost here. So now we want to add sub items to our file_menu. And we do that by calling file_menu dot add underscore command. And the reason why this is an add command is because whenever we click on these things, we want something to happen. Sort of like when you click on a button and it has a command that does something. Same thing, right? We want something to happen when we click on like save, for instance. We want to run the save function. That's a command, right? So we're adding a command. They also happen to be each thing. So this save, that's a command. Save with encoding, that's a command. Save as command. Each of these items will be a command, right? So there we go. Now we give it a label, and I'm going to say, I don't know, we'll call this one new. And we also need to give it a command. So I'm going to call, I don't know, thing, right? So let's just come up here and let's define our thing function. We'll just pass for now. So command thing, and that's it. Now we can add as many of these as we want. So let's say new, let's say open, let's say save, and let's say exit. Now, to exit a program, to quit a Tkinter program, there's a specific command you can call, root.quit. Now, it's root.quit because our app is called root. If you named your app something else, if you named it app, it would be app.quit, right? So root.quit. Some operating systems like Mac require something like that. Windows just works with root.quit usually. So, okay, we've got these things now. That should do the trick. Let's go ahead and save this. Head over to our terminal. I'm in my c/tkinter.com directory, and let's run python menus.py. And when we do, we see this file bar up here. We see this menu bar. It says new, open, save, exit. None of these do anything yet except the exit button. When we click the exit button, the program ends. Very cool. Now, what about a little separator between like the exit and the rest of these things? Because exit is, quit. That's sort of different than new, open, and save. So let's add a separator. Separator. I can never remember how to spell separator. Does it have an E in it? I don't know. So let's go file underscore menu dot add underscore separator. I think that's spelled right. So now if we save this and head over here, we see there's now a nice little separator bar between these two. So that's nice. So, okay, now we've got these things. Let's make these just do something really quickly just to see how that would work. Now we've given this a command of thing. So this thing function will run every time we click any of these things, which is not what you want. Each one of these would have its own function doing its own thing, but we're too lazy for that. So let's come up here and let's go my underscore label. Remember our label from the beginning here, .config. And let's set the text equal to whatever. Right? Now let's pass in whatever right up here. So we can use a lambda to pass things into a function with Tkinter. So to do that, we call a lambda, Lambda, with a colon. Now this looks like an uppercase L. It's not, it's a lowercase l, right? This is an uppercase L, right? See, it's very angular. This is kind of swoopy. It looks like a backwards J. It's a lowercase l. So here, now we can call our thing function and we can pass something in. So let's pass in new, just the word new, right? So now this word new will get passed in as this whatever variable, and then we'll print out that on our label. So let's go ahead and just copy this. Now, normally you wouldn't do this with a menu. Like I said, you'd have a different command for each of these items, but we're lazy, so we're just going to do one and do it like this. So now if we save this and run it, when we click new, it says new there. When we click open, it says open. When we click save, it says save. And when we click exit, it exits out. Now, what about this tear-off thing? Let's change this to 1 and just see what the heck that is. This is really a weird function, and I've not seen this anywhere, but you'll see now there's a dashed line at the top. And if we click on that, boom, the menu thing disappears, and here it is. It's now just sort of floating around, and it still works. You could click on it. You could bring it down here and click on it, and it still does stuff, but it's now disconnected. And we can come up here and click this again, and another one pops up. Popped up on my other monitor, but it still works, right? So this one works, this one works. It's very confusing, and we can exit out. So if you want the tear off to 1, you could do that. I think that's stupid, so I always put it at 0, and that's all there is to it. So that's it in a nutshell, but now how do we add another one? So we have up here file, we also have edit. How do we add another one to our Tkinter app? Well, let's add another category item. To do that, we just, again, name it. So I'm going to call this the edit menu, and that's going to equal a menu. Where do we want to put this? We still want to put it on our My Menu menu. I want to give this a tear-off of, let's give it 1. So you can give each one different tear-offs. So this file could have a tear-off or not. This edit can have a tear-off or not, right? So there we go. And then we have to still add it. So let me just grab this guy and paste it in. So My Menu, add cascade. Instead of it saying file, let's have it say edit. And the menu is going to be our edit menu. Okay, piece of cake. And again, now we just add things. So I'm going to come up here and just grab one of these guys. Let's say add sub item to edit menu. Paste this in, but this, of course, is not going to be a file menu. It's going to be the edit menu. Spell that right. And here, let's say, I don't know, cut. And again, you'll call some other function, right? But we're just going to leave it like this so it has some sort of functionality. And I'm going to add a couple more. Let's say cut, copy, and paste. Come up here to this one. There's a cut, copy, and paste. That's sort of normal. And that should do it. So let's go ahead and save this. Head back over here. Run this guy again. And now we've got another little menu item here. So same thing. It's got this tear off. We didn't change these, so they still say new. Whoops. But you get the idea. So, all right, what else can we do with this? Well, we can actually add checkboxes and radio buttons to this menu. And they're not really what you think, but let's take a look at them anyway. So let's change this to cut while we're at it. Copy and paste. And let's add a couple more. So let's add 2 more. So this one will be check box, and this one will be radio box, right? So here, let's have this say check, and let's have this one say radio. So instead of adding a command here, we're going to add a check button. And here, instead of adding a command, we're going to add a radio button. And these are all lowercase. So if we save this, just what the heck is this? Well, if we click this, now it says cut. Okay, we see this checkbox. If I click it, it says check there. But now if I click it again, there's a little checkbox next to it. If I unclick it, it goes away. I don't know why you would want to do that, but there you go. What about the radio box? If I click that, there's a checkbox there. If I click it again, it's still there. Why is that? Well, we looked at radio buttons and checkboxes a few videos ago, 1 video for each. So go check those out. With a checkbox, you can always select or unselect a checkbox, and you can select multiple checkboxes. With a radio button, radio box I said, but radio button, it's only ever one selection and you can't unselect it. So if you have 3 radio buttons, you can toggle between those 3. One of them will always be selected. So for instance, if we come back over here, first off, I'm going to call this radio button because duh. But if I copy this and I change this to radio 1 and paste it in again and make a radio 2, here let's say radio button 1, radio button 2. If I save this and come back over here and run it, and now click radio button 1, now it says radio 1. Now if I click radio button 2 and then come back over here, radio button 1 is no longer selected. Radio button 2 is. And we can toggle back and forth because, again, radio buttons, one of them will always be selected. And you're choosing from a list of radio buttons. Same thing in a menu here. It's still radio button logic, I guess you would call it. But there you go. Again, I have no idea why you would want to do that. Maybe you could think of a reason. We could also always have the checkbox or not checkbox. And all the rest of it still works. And that's all there is to it. So those are menu bars and menus in Tkinter. A little bit convoluted, right? You've got all kinds of things going on here, but really if you kind of comment it out explicitly, you're not going to lose track. If you don't comment, it's easy to get turned around here and forget, oh, this is the menu for this, and this is the menu for that, and, it's a little complicated. It's not too hard, but it is a little more complicated than, for instance, just a button widget or something, or even a combo box drop-down we talked about in the last video, but not too bad and pretty cool. So those are menu bars. In the next video, which should pop up around there somewhere, we're going to look at status bars. So my name is John Elder from Tkinter.com, and I'll see you in the next video.